Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to this press conference. It's a cooperation between the Nobel Peace Center and the newspaper Vårt Land. My name is Jon Magne Lund. I've been working as editor in Vårt Land for more than 19 years. I had the privilege to meeting with the Archbishop the very day when the Office of Reconciliation was closed in Cape Town. And we went up to the cathedral. It was a great experience. We have here a brand new book, Tilgivelse, 4 steg mot fred med deg selv og fred i verden. 4 steps, path to forgiveness. And the book of forgiving was written by the Archbishop and his youngest daughter, Reverend Mpho. Let's now start. First question to the daughter, if I may. You are the executive director of the Desmond and Mpho Legacy Foundation. Short, what's your main work there?
We have a lot of main work, actually. We have 3 pillars of the organization. The first is to archive and to be custodians of my parents' documents, legacy images, and some of their real artifacts, to make them available to future generations and to researchers. The second area of our work is to support and promote organizations that do work, that are name organizations, so they're named for either one or other of my parents or both. And there are about 350 of them around the world. And then the third area of our work is to create and support projects and programs that promote flourishing for people and our planet. So that's the broad catch-all of our work. And then in the small piece of our work, it's really peace building in every way that you can. Peace building through freedom, peace building through work, peace building through health.
Thank you. Archbishop, you have written this book, the Book of Forgiving, the Fourfold Path for Healing Ourselves and Our World, together with your daughter. When did this cooperation start? And we are very glad that you are here, of course, and that we have this book today to present to the public. Please.
Well, I mean, you say when. Sort of forever, in a way. I had written a book after the Truth and Reconciliation Commission had completed its work with the title No Future Without Forgiveness. And so having said that very firmly out of the experience of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we felt, that we would need a how-to book if you want to forgive. What do you do? Since you say forgiveness is such an important part of our lives, and this was the result of our saying, well, we would like to put out a handbook, as it were, to help people, and this was about two years ago, when you had to be working through providing a script for the publishers.
Reverend, you and your father, you launched a worldwide campaign for forgiving.
Yes.
A lot of people joined.
Yes. The campaign that we launched is the Forgiveness Challenge. It's still available online and it's still free at forgivenesschallenge.com. And it's a 30-day process where you walk through the path of forgiving that we've laid out here. You're able to do your own process for the day, and then you can link into a forum to see how other people are coping with whatever the exercise is for the day. And some days are particularly tough on some people, so it's allowed to circle back.
Thank you. Now the floor is open, and please introduce yourself when you have the possibility to raise a question. Yeah, Tom.
It's 20 years since apartheid was demolished. Do you today see any places in the world where apartheid still is active?
Other places in the world where apartheid is what?
Is
alive.
Is alive.
Well, I think, that the most obvious one, there are several places, where people of a particular race, status, or so on, are discriminated against. But perhaps the one that is most striking for many people is what is happening in the Middle East. I recently had an op-ed in Haaretz with regard to that situation, that it might be a good thing for people to consider how we helped to end apartheid, and so I think I have felt very sad whenever I've been to that part of the world, particularly sad because of what I perceive the Israelis are doing to themselves. It is a very deep ache in my heart, a deep anguish, because as we were just speaking about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, one of the things that we found there was that whenever you carried out policies that were demeaning and dehumanizing of others, inexorably those made the perpetrator equally dehumanized, or and yes, for a South African, when you, certainly a black South African, when you have gone there, the checkpoints and all of that are so reminiscent. And yes, and so one is saying that this is something that we need. We need a way in which we can try to heal ourselves. And one just prays that people around the world, I mean, you know, you look at so many situations and you see the way in which we treat one another. Yeah.
Just a follow-up.
Yeah.
Will you by this say that Israel is practicing apartheid in the Palestinian areas?
Yes, what I mean, well, of course, I mean, you have things like the separation wall. You have things like there are roads on which the Palestinians are not allowed to travel, and
Demolition of homes.
the demolition of homes, yes. And I mean, even the thing of the checkpoints. It's, if you've been to South Africa, I mean, if you come from South Africa, it hits you between the eyes. I mean, it's exactly how our people were treated. You know, you've been to Cape Town and you know District 6. Outside Cape Town, where people of all races lived together quite happily until the apartheid government came and removed people. And people will often say to you, you know, that house, that used to be my home. And when I've been there, someone, I mean, the only thing that would be different is sort of the location, but the human experience is the same. You hear someone saying, you see that house there in Jerusalem there, we used to live there, and we've left now. And basically, we are saying it is still possible for that situation to be resolved relatively peacefully. But yeah, I mean, human beings are human beings. And you know, when you say, be careful of dehumanizing yourself, how can you explain having 4 kids who are playing on the beach, picked off just like that? How do you go home and tell your children, Daddy, what did you do today? I shot 4 children playing on the beach. What's happened to you inside that you shouldn't feel that if I'm doing this, I mean, if this is war, I'd much rather not be a soldier. You know, it's not sort of theorizing. It is because one, and I just hope, I mean, that they would believe this, that I care enormously for the Israelis. I care enormously.
NRK.
Yes, a question for both of you. My name is Sissel Wold. I work in the NRK too. The worst act of terror that Norway has seen since the last World War was, of course, 22nd of July 2011 by Anders Behring Breivik. Do you think that the Norwegian people should forgive Anders Behring Breivik?
Well, I mean, that is our position. And that happens, I think, to be God's position too. You see, I mean, God hates no one. I mean, we're all God's children, and there are those of us who become bad children. but we're still children. We still belong to the family. What would you want to do as a Norwegian regarding that? You say, no, I've got to foster anger and hate inside the hearts of those who were the victims or the parents of the victims. This is not to say the thing that happened is not the worst possible thing that you could imagine. It's a ghastly act, and we condemn it outright. I think there would be one of two things I can do. One is to continue with an anger and a bitterness and a desire to hit back. And the other is, whilst not condoning the act, you try to look through, and I've just read something where his father says he is worse now. It seems, his views are worse than when he committed that act. What do I gain by hating him? Because you and I know, when you foster hatred in your heart, it's not just a spiritual thing. It has physical consequences. You know when you are angry, all of us, when we're angry, you feel it here. Your heart pumps quicker because, your body seems to be told that you're angry and you want to fight. And you and I know that kind of attitude is corrosive. It can give you stomach ulcers, whereas the opposite has the opposite consequences. That you actually feel a better human being when you are forgiven. There is a part of you that swells. I'm sure you want. She's saying I'm talking too much. Come and talk. Just say your piece.
Yeah, okay. I'll say my piece then.
You're such a wonderfully obedient child.
You heard it here first. No one can say you should forgive, but we can extend an invitation to forgive. And the invitation to forgive ultimately is not for the benefit of the perpetrator. Ultimately, the invitation to forgive and the granting of forgiveness is to the benefit of the person who was injured in the first place. Norwegians had such a beautiful, beautiful response to such an ugly, ugly act. The world could weep with you, and we're so grateful for the humanity that you demonstrated in responding to that terror.
Thank you. Lady down there.
Thank you. My name is Liv Sverdrup. I'm Director of Exhibitions here at the Nobel Peace Center. First of all, I would like to thank the Archbishop for your kind cooperation in the making of the exhibition Strengths and Convictions on the four South African Nobel Peace Prize laureates that was opened in Cape Town in 2009 and later year in this very room in 2010. And in a couple of years, we will open a new big exhibition on the Nobel Peace Prize, on Alfred Nobel, and also about the Peace Prize laureates and their leadership. And we wanted to ask you two questions in relation to this. It is 30 years since you received the Nobel Peace Prize now. And what role has the Nobel Peace Prize played for your work for peace? That would be the first one, please.
Yeah. I have very ready answers which are true. Up to the point when I received the Nobel Peace Prize, I was trying to get to the White House because there were things that I wanted to say to President Reagan, and no invitation was forthcoming from the White House. The day it was announced that I had been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, I didn't ask for it. I was told the president invites you to the Oval Office. So the Nobel Peace Prize very really opens doors. It opens doors that were closed. For us, up to that point, our struggle against apartheid was on the back burner. The world was not particularly interested. I mean, there were people who were always concerned, but as an issue that was very pertinent and a burning issue for us, that was not the case with most of the world. The moment I received the Nobel Peace Prize, I was saying the same things I said before receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. But the moment I received the Nobel Peace Prize, it was almost like I was an oracle. I stood up and I spoke, and they were taking it far more seriously now than they'd done before I received it. And one was so aware of how crucially important it was in our struggle. And then I think, that our people were in a struggle where sometimes their morale was often devastated. What was that?
Flagging.
Their morale was flagging. I know my place. And when I got the Nobel Peace Prize, we were in New York with my wife, and we said we've got to go back home because that prize was not for me, it was for our people. And it helped to raise the morale of our people. Those would be just three. But just because you've already got up, I will stop there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Short.
We'll make sure to bring that story forward to your audience. Also, short question. Is there a special moment when you knew that you would dedicate yourself to...
I'm sorry?
Is there a special moment, was there a special moment when you knew that you would dedicate yourself to peace and reconciliation, a kind of epiphany? Did you meet someone or no?
No. Oh, you want me to go on? I thought I wanted to surprise you to show you that I could actually answer with one word.
Thank you. Yeah, gentleman there. The one, yeah.
My name is Shetu. I'm from Sri Lanka. My question is very simple. How this forgiveness can create ethnic harmony and permanent peace in Sri Lanka, because you are deeply involved with the Sri Lankan peace process.
What was that?
It was how can the forgiveness process help to bring peace and harmony in Sri Lanka?
Yes. Well, of course, I mean, the process is a two-way process. There are many times, and that is a part of, I mean, when Paul said it's a gift, not so much to the offender or the perpetrator, it is ultimately a gift to yourself. I mean, if the people in Sri Lanka who are at the receiving end were to say, amongst other things, that they are not in it to pay back for the things that they have suffered. They are looking to be able to have self-determination, that they want to be allowed to live their lives as they want to live their lives and not have anything imposed on them.
Can I jump on the train?
Please, yes.
Okay, I'll jump on the train. In the book, we describe two things. One is a description of the fact that you're not always on the right side of the argument, that you often crisscross, from being the victim to being the one who is a perpetrator. It doesn't matter what the conflict is. The process is always the same. The process begins with telling the story of what has happened to you. And so you need to tell the story of what you have endured to a respectful auditor, to somebody who's going to listen to you respectfully. I think that what happens very often is, you sort of exchange, my pain is greater than your pain because whatever it was that happened to you was more painful than, was less painful than whatever it was that happened to me. But rather to be able to tell the story in a forum that resembles the TRC forum, where the people listening may be impartial. And that is where the process begins.
Thank you.
Oh, we have shut them up. Oh, no.
My name is Bjørgulf Bjørn. I'm a journalist in Vårt Land. Mr. Archbishop, yesterday you wrote, "We fought apartheid. Now climate change is our global enemy." How could we fight that enemy?
Global
climate.
Well, I mean, we are doing so now.
Yeah.
I mean, in many ways it is the same thing. I mean, where there is injustice, to be able to galvanize people to the extent that has happened. Actually, I mean, I'm in some ways I'm very pleasantly surprised because, climate change, although it is a physical thing, mentally I think it's almost a climate change. What are they talking about? And you give examples, of how there are many parts of the world now where the water supply has gone wonky, and there are islands that have already been submerged, because of something that has happened in the Arctic. I mean, the ice melting. It's fantastic, I mean, to discover that we human beings are actually not such a bad lot. You know, we aren't. I mean, to get 300,000 people like they say they got yesterday, and you, I don't know how many you had here in Oslo. I mean, people are galvanized. And it's interesting, I mean, that people in the West who have not yet, to quite the same extent, I mean, they are beginning to see changes in the rainfall patterns. There are floods where you didn't used to have floods, you know. But even so, you see, you can still go into a house. You can be protected from the rain. If it is too hot, you've got air conditioning. The people who are most responsible for the climate change that has happened are able to mitigate the consequences of it much more than people in Africa. And they're saying, I mean, we are bearing, although we are responsible for about 3% of the change. I want to say that it is fantastic that people can, in fact, care as much as they've shown. I mean, and they are already forcing. I was reading a report just now that 500 in America, 500 top
50.
50.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
It's 50 foundations, but they're pretty big. And the university.
Yeah, Stanford.
Yes, Stanford.
Already, I mean,
19.
it's building up. And I think we're going to see here a bloodless revolution. But it is an important one because if we don't do something about it, if we don't contain the rise in temperature to 2 degrees, bye-bye. I mean, because there's no one who's going to, I mean, you can't say, stop the world, I want to get off. Where are you going to go?
But what about forgiveness if the leaders don't react?
If they what?
Okay.
All right, this
is my train.
Oh, yeah. I mean, why did we write this book together?
I don't know. It's okay. I'll forgive you. That if the leaders don't act, forgiveness isn't a weak thing. It isn't a wishy-washy thing. It's actually quite a demanding thing. And the demands of forgiveness, the first is telling the story. So saying what it is that has happened to our environment as a consequence of your actions, not you particularly, but the general you. So what's happening to the environment in Africa as a consequence of what's going on in climate, the use of fossil fuels in the West, you say, okay, so that is to tell the story. And the second is to name the hurt, to say, okay, we're responsible for 3% of the pollution, but we bear 70% of the consequences of that pollution. We in Africa bear 70% of the consequences of that pollution. It means that, for instance, all over the world now, women spend 28 million hours.
200.
200 million hours. 200 million hours, thank you. 200 million hours a day in the search for water. And that's enough time, work hours, to actually build 28 Empire State Buildings each day. So we could actually build 28 Empire State Buildings each day on what is wasted in time and energy. And then the third step is to decide whether or not you forgive. But the fourth step is to renew or release the relationship. And in renewing the relationship, you don't walk back into the relationship that you have had before. That is the place where you call for there to be a new relationship, a completely different way of ordering the world than we have been using now.
Yeah.
Just one last question to Archbishop. You mentioned the weapon boycott. As you successfully use it regarding the apartheid years, you can use the weapons of boycott regarding the climate change. How?
Oh, well, I mean, it's very straightforward. These companies that we've referred to, or the universities and so forth, have said we are divesting from companies that continue, I mean, fossil fuel, all of the money that is being put into the exploration to find more and more coal and so forth. We are not going there. If those companies do not now say we want to invest in alternative sources of energy, then sorry, we are withdrawing. And as I say, I mean, one was reading this morning, I said 500, but Mpho says she's more likely to be right, 50, but it's not small. I mean, Rockefeller Brothers Foundation, I mean, you sit up and you take notice when that kind of company says, sorry, we are now going to be looking to invest in companies that are looking for alternative sources of energy.
The Archbishop and the Reverend, they have a very tight program, but one last question. Okay, two short.
Also NRK. Do you think all kinds of acts should or could be forgiven?
I beg your pardon?
If all kinds of acts could...
All kinds of acts.
Yes, could or should be forgiven.
Yes, I mean, I know that there are moments when we say this is unforgivable. If it is unforgivable, it ultimately is saying, I mean, that human community is going to be impossible. Just look, if the Jews somehow were to have said that they do not forgive the Holocaust, they would have all have had to leave Germany. They haven't done so. I mean, there are many who have remained there, many who have accepted the expressions of forgiveness. It is actually true to say, it's not a nice, catching phrase. Without forgiveness, there is no future. You know.
Last very short question from Tom.
Can you explain to me why Africans can forgive, but not Europeans?
Why?
Maybe we talk to each other more.
No, 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 no. But I'm not quite sure that you are right.
Well,
no, man.
But
yes.
okay, so well, hold on a second.
You are wrong.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm guessing from your ring that maybe you're married or that you're in a relationship. Okay. How long are you willing to tell me how long you've been in that relationship?
Many years with a South African.
Oh dear. But you have had to forgive that person many times, is my guess, and that person has been required to forgive you many times for all kinds of things. Each of us, all over the world, can forgive. We can do it. We just haven't had a stepwise method for doing it laid out in front of us.
And I mean, no, let me give you perhaps an even stronger example. Northern Ireland. The Protestants and the Roman Catholics were at each other's throats. But latterly, Ian Paisley, who died recently, and who was one of the most yes, he was very firm in his opposition to the IRA, the Roman Catholics, but he came to a point where on television he was cracking jokes with the leader of the Roman Catholics of the IRA, and they were part of the same party, government rather. And yet, I mean, you would have thought that would have been the last thing that would have ever happened. And it has happened.
Just 1 second, then now we have to close down.
Very, very short. Yes or no? Do you think that Anders Behring Breivik would become a better person if he is forgiven?
Who's that?
Anders Behring Breivik, the 22nd
Yes,
of July terrorist.
I don't know. I mean, but I think that those who are able to forgive him should forgive him and give him the opportunity to choose whether to be a better person or a worse person. I think, yeah, I mean, we take that risk, all of us, all the time. I mean, when
Yes or no?
Yeah, yes or no.
Maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe.
What is not maybe? That he
No, yes or no. Maybe he'll become a better person, but maybe not.
maybe he'll become a better person, maybe not.
Okay. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for coming to us and for staying so long. And thank you to all of you. And thank you for giving us this book,
Thank you.
Tilgivelse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being so firm with these people.
Oh, yeah, they are terrible people, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.